Hey, how is everyone doing today? Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday. I'm really excited. This is going to be my first time, I think, streaming a build. So I'm super excited, and I want to thank everyone who is joining me today. Um, if you don't know, we've got our Extraordinary Expeditions Kickstarter funded, and one of the stretch goals was to build a 4 custom subclasses based on the feedback from the backers. So we put out some polls and some stuff, and one of the winners was the Ranger, specifically a control style Ranger. So I've got a few ideas that I kind of want to go with for to kind of get a jump on the the project. For one of my Ask Me Anythings with my patrons, we kind of went through and compare and contrasted other official Wizards of the Coast releases, and so we can kind of leverage that to make sure we're making a good, well balanced character. Um, oh, I'm sorry, you had to work, Tila. Is it Tila? Or Tyla on Thanksgiving. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully, you still got to spend some time with your family. Garwin says a ranger based around leading people. That really is kind of their shtick already, so we're gonna have to go a little higher than that. Tyla says a divine ranger. That's interesting. Something I hadn't considered. So I have a few ideas, and I kind of want to throw them out there and get some feedback. Something that has because we do have some conditions. The ranger needs to be control based, so that is one of the conditions. But before we get into kind of where my thoughts are going, I think we need to do kind of a class overview. This kind of gives us an idea of what the ranger is already capable of, and that way we can ensure we don't tread on some of the core features inside of the subclass. So obviously looking at the you can see here on my little Google Doc here, I've got the class details that are just kind of some one notes that I found as I was going through and comparing the classes. So we're going to start with the most common feature, and the core feature is the favorite enemy. So when you starting a ranger, you begin with experience or knowledge that is around a certain type of enemy. You're chosen from whatever the list of that's provided to you, and the ranger has advantage on survival checks to kind of track, and knowledge checks to recall information on those. They also gain an associated language, so that's something that they already kind of get. That's the favorite enemy, and that does get enhanced over multiple levels. An Arctic Ranger. That's interesting. Kind of fitting the cold vibe. I like that. I've been taking a peek at a lot of worlds, and Planescape needs a ranger. I have not actually got to experience Planescape, so I'm welcome to. I welcome any information in regards to that. That's one of the few of the old digital games that I never actually got to play, and definitely a setting I haven't played in. Which is kind of why I did Plane Shifters, because I wanted to jump from plane to plane, but I assume Planescape is the same. Anyway, so with that, so the favorite enemy is kind of important. At any time you can track or toss in your core features and linking them back to things like your favorite enemy is also going to be really nice. They also get the Natural Explorer, which, if you don't know, a ranger, starts with knowledge in a particular terrain or environment from a specific list, and your proficiency bonus is doubled for, wisdom and intelligence checks related to your terrain. And that's one of those things that's very specific to a campaign setting. And so, once again, if there's a way to enhance that, we may want to consider that. They also get fighting styles, which is 2-weapon fighting, archery, etc. So maybe we want to try to not lean too much into that, or because the subclass should play well regardless of which of those that they pick. Ranger based on the Cosmic Wheel. That's interesting. Is that for Planescape? Is that a Planescape thing? They also get at second level. They also get spell casting. So honestly, I think this is where some of the ideas that I have are going to come in, because I feel like the spell casting of the ranger kind of gets overlooked. People don't generally utilize them the way that they should. So I think being able to tie into some of that's going to be good. They also get primeval awareness. So, at third level, they get to use an action and spell slots to kind of sense nearby creatures. And then range does get extended if they're casting within their favorite terrain. So there's an example of an ability that is going back towards their natural explorer, previous feature. They do get extra attack at 5th level. They get long stride at 8th level, which means they can move unhindered through non-magical difficult terrain and is unharmed by non-magical plants. I feel like that doesn't come up enough, but that's okay. That's a very specific niche. And you also have advantage on saving throws against magical plants that attempt to harm or impede them, which is really nice. Hey, Silver, thanks for joining us. Uses cold to slow enemy freezes. So now you're actually on to something there, Garwin. I like the idea. So I was a big World of Warcraft player back in the day, and the hunter in that had lots of variety of traps, and I think that's the direction I want to kind of go, but I don't have a solid mechanic for it yet. And so I started looking at like spells and rituals and stuff. What if they could use, because the hunting trap, and we'll get more into that in a little bit, but the hunting trap only requires an action to use. So what if they could, during short rest, create a variety of special traps that could be rigged or used as an action. So that's kind of where I like the tying down there that you're talking about. And Tila's talking about the Arctic Ranger, which is what if the weather what if we made a weather ranger, somebody that specializes in dealing with that's interesting. I like that. But now you're getting more into the powerful spell casting, which isn't exactly something that the ranger is meant to do. Welcome, Brian. Glad and thanks for joining us. If you got any ideas, please toss it out. So far, the one thing that's really jumped out at me that I liked is the slowing and manipulation. Because remember, one of our conditions is to build a ranger around control, so battlefield control. Right now, we're going through a class overview to kind of overview of what the characters already can do, so that way we may or may not be able to tie some of the features into it. So we have hide in plain sight. So at 10th level, the ranger can spend a minute creating camouflage, gaining a plus 10 dexterity stealth check. This camouflage works as long as you don't move. So this is really interesting. So this almost gives us a mechanic. If we want to go if we're going to go the trapper route, it gives us a mechanic and a metric to kind of say, okay, if we want to let them use traps, they can set up traps as an action, or they could spend X amount of minutes doing it and gain a bonus to how effective they are in their hiding them, concealing them, as well as their effectiveness in use, which is interesting. At 14th level, they get Vanish, so that's a bonus action. They can hide and cannot be tracked by non-magical means, which is nice. And 18th level, they get Feral Sense. The Ranger can fight invisible creatures without disadvantage. That is really cool. That to me is something that is very unique to them and the Rogue. I think the Rogue gets Blind Sense, but both pretty much work the same way. And then at 20th level, you get Foe Slayer. So at 20th level, the Ranger can add their Wisdom modifier to their attack and damage rolls against a favored enemy once per turn. So now we've kind of got an overview of what the Ranger's core features are and what they can be utilized as, and how we can make sure that we tie into our theme and not step on the toes of those features. So right now, I think the one I'm really liking is Abby actually is touching on something I just touched on earlier. 10-minute ritual to set up for specialized traps. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So if we open up, let's use the internet here for the Hunter's Trap, D&D Hunter Trap. I'm sure Roll20 will have us. There it is. Can always count on Roll20. So here we go. So this is kind of, if we're doing a trap style, Wizards of the Coast already kind of gives us a feature to go off of, right? So here is how it works for everybody. The idea of it working for a specialization might make it more dangerous, more effective, things like that. And so creating it like a ritual where you can do this if you set it up and use it as or an action, it does this. If you spend 10 minutes or an hour doing this during a short rest, it becomes more effective. And I think that could be a good direction to go. So Brian says, from what I know, battle control falls on one of these: enemy hindrance, surprise strikes, removing enemy advantage, enemy misdirection, and enemy redirection. Those are really, really good points. And that's definitely, so Tila makes a good point too. Couldn't you just role play spells as traps? Some of them, absolutely, sure, but we want to go beyond that, right? We don't want it to just be a reflavoring thing. We want it to be a mechanical benefit, and because of that, there needs to be more versatility that a spell allows. Now, I do like that idea where we could have one of those options be imbuing a trap like Glyph of Warding that goes off with a spell at a later time, right? So Glyph of Warding would then give us that kind of template for that. So we could, in theory, create a spike growth trap, right? Which you could then make it so that the trap goes off whether you're there or not, as opposed to you have to see a target. So now we not only can we lean into that spell casting side, but we can make it different from than just using the spell, right? Which is really, really good, I think. This says, what if we had a trap list like the Blood Hunter's Mutagens or Battlemaster? I love that. That is really great. And that's a really good idea. So when I was tossing around some ideas in the old noggin, I was trying to think of what are some mechanics that already exist that we could kind of use. So let's first take a look at our first level 3. So I don't know how long this will take. I know when I do it by myself, it takes a little while, but we're going to basically focus on one level of structure at once and then slowly move on. And if we can get to all of them, great. If not, we'll at least have the early stuff fleshed out. Abby says maybe the ability to change the terrain to difficult terrain for enemies. I think we can even do that even better. The idea of difficult terrain that, locks a person and restrains them or immobilizes them could even be a bigger benefit than just making it difficult terrain. So, all right. So let's take a look at some of what I took for notes here previously on the level 3 features of a subclass. So we have a kind of an idea. We want a controlling trapper. So let's compare to what some of the other classes get at 3rd level and see where we kind of want to be. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The hunter subclass used to be called archetype. Are they called conclaves now? Is that official, or is that just something I'm making up because I played the Baldur's Gate game? So this one's so I do like the idea of going, let's look through, history, pit traps, the spike traps, the good old bear traps. Those are really good examples for starting. And I think that that's a good way to go. Silverwolf says I came in late earlier. What is the concept? So right now it looks like I'm really feeling so our patron or our backers voted on a ranger that's a control type. So something that doesn't exist in right now that's done well is traps. So a trapper ranger, somebody who sets up traps either in advance or can drop them instantly to catch prey and hinder them, not necessarily focus on damage, though I don't think it'd be out of the question to have a trap that does extra damage, right? So that's where we want to go. We Wizards of the Coast does give us the hunting trap that gives us kind of a starting point. We also have the rules for the pit traps and things like that. And I think we can do a lot with that, especially with jumping on board with the other core features that like the nature and stuff. So let's take a look here at our level 3 power. So the Drake Warden got a lot of cool stuff, specifically a cantrip language and a Drake Companion, which is a lot of utility and offensive focus. The Fey Wanderer immediately got a 1d4 damage boost. That's really nice. It also has bonus to charisma and gives you new skills, so it's very utility based, but it gives us a metrics to say, okay, we can give something damage and boost damage, and that's considered acceptable if we choose to include that. The Gloomstalker gets a specialty spell list, which is very common on some of the newer classes, which I think is really interesting. Garwin, as you level, you can craft better and better traps, give more effects like slow or some such. I actually like that idea really well. In our Capes and Crooks book, we did like scaling cantrips where when you hit a certain level they got new features, and I think that something like that could work for this. Like you pick maybe a hunter's trap does something until level 5 and you get the improved hunter's trap that now it does extra damage or something like that, or maybe it doesn't let them move at all. So there's definitely some room for there. The Gloomstalker is interesting because that gives a huge extra damage bonus as well as an initiative bonus, and you can now get Umbral Sight and you get a conditional invisibility. So we're starting to see that damage increase is pretty common across these three, and utility. So they're getting more than one feature at 3rd level. The Horizon gets a new spell list, much like the Gloomstalker. So I think that touching on Tila's ideas earlier, we could do really well with the giving them a new spell list that could then be used to enhance the trap building, so to speak. Even given maybe at a high level, giving them access to Glyph of Warding, if that's not already on their spell list. Is that already on their spell list? I'm not sure. Anybody know where is that at? Let's go to spells, Glyph of Warding. I don't think that's on their spell list. So that would be a good one to go with there. Glyph of Warding. Let's hit enter there. Search. Oh, it's because I'm typing in the wrong spot. Glyph of Warding. So it doesn't actually tell me which class's spell list that is. Is that on the classes? So it's not on the Ranger subclass. So that is definitely something that we could consider as well. Looks like the Stalker Conclave revised, or the revised Ranger gets it, and the Deep Stalker gets it. So that's not uncommon, which might be what they were going for. I think this Ranger should be able to do something more. Finds weapons lying around, branches become clubs. Good evening, really cool. I think I'm saying that right. Is this getting utility with tracking and scouting capabilities that can have synergy with other abilities? That depends on how we're going. Right now, our focus is control, but part of that will be the scouting and the tracking, and we can tie back to that stuff. Things simply as setting up alarm traps that might function similar to the spell, maybe not quite. You can set up dozens of these things around to kind of get an idea where people are going. So there's definitely some benefits there. Continuing looking at the other subclass features, the Hunters gets Hunter's Prey, which does another damage dealing one. I think it's 1d6. Monster Slayer as well gets extra damage and a new spell list. The Hunter definitely seems the least. So I think that's why they're going to be going back to the Player's Handbook and redoing some of the Rangers, because all the newer styles are in a different format and are just superior. Outright. We also get the Swarm Keeper, which does Gathered Swarm, which is damage and control. I really like that one. That also gets a new spell list. So this tells me that looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 classes, like 4 of them get new spell lists. So I feel like we certainly should be able to do something with that. So the thing is do we go that direction, or do we develop a whole new mechanic? That seems to be the standard. And if we look at the standard, then I'd like to hear your thoughts, what you guys think about that. I do agree with Tila. Control is more for slowing enemies, speeding up allies, tripping and studding. That's definitely where I think we're going to be going. Immediately, one of the fighter Battlemaster features is like distracting shot or something. That to me is a sort of battlefield control because you're controlling the offensive capabilities of the enemy. So I do think a new spell list is pretty standard. What would be some good spells to go on that? So the normal outline for spell lists, because we're going to want to jump on the fact that this is already kind of standardized with the 4 out of the like 7 classes subclasses here. So you get one at 3rd level, right, which is let's do this: ranger level and then spell level. So the ranger level here is 3rd, and then the spell level is 1st, and that then we get the 5th and 2nd. So this is limiting quite a bit since it's a 1/3 caster, right? Is that correct? 3rd level, and then we get 9th. I already did 9th. We get 11th, and that's a 4th level, and then we get 15th. And 5th level is the highest they get. So that's kind of the general outline for giving spell lists. The other thing we want to touch on is bonus features. So sticking with that, what about ability to buff allies with poison tipping weapons? Yes, I love that. I think that is a great idea. Let's just add that to our ideas thing. Poisons. So right now, the rogue is generally the only one that ever really gets involved in poisons. So buffing your allies instead of doing it yourself would certainly be something that would that'd probably fall more under support or utility, but I still think that that does warrant investigate, maybe potentially considering poisons for allies or even just traps. So that's actually a really good point. So what if the higher you go, the more variety of poisons you can get? So a hunter's trap in and of itself, not too deadly, right? It basically locks them into place and they can't do a whole lot. But maybe you can start coating your weapons in poison. So not only does it do 1 piercing damage, but it does 1d4 poison damage or whatever it is. And that then can tie back into nature checks and the herbalism kit or poisoner's kit, or herbalism, I guess, and coating your weapon, your new traps into these effects, right? Pit trap is a really good example I've seen come up in the chat a couple times, where you could have, if you have enough time to prep. And I think that's going to be key, right? Is how do we determine the benefits of setting up a trap in advance versus setting it up really quickly and building it from scratch? So in my mind, the hunting trap is already a constructed piece of equipment. So that's why you can use it as an action. You can throw it out and, use an action to bolt it into place, and it locks somebody in place. But what if you had more time? What would be the benefit of that? The most obvious is better concealment, right? So maybe when you hide something, it becomes more harder to detect or something like that the more time you have to prep. Don't know if Abby says, don't know if you touched on it, but it'd be cool to have a trap checking / disarming ability that scales with ranger level. Yes, that's actually something that we were talking about. So one of the ideas that we kind of are brainstorming right now is not only all giving additional spell list and focus on battlefield control, but also having traps that change or evolve over time. I think Tila or somebody mentioned previously about having something along the lines of the battle master type features, where you pick a couple of them and then maybe at certain levels those get enhanced in some way, shape, or form. I think the hunting trap was one where maybe at a higher level it also does something else, or maybe you can do 2 for 1 or something along those lines. So they do get more proficient. So let's so we've got some good ideas here for the different types of a new spell list that would fit. One of the first things that comes to my mind for a first level spell, right? We gotta consider if we're going to do the. And remember, none of this is set in stone. We're just gonna put out some ideas here and then kind of pick and choose as we go. Rickwool says passive bonus for scavenging nature creatures and or materials from components or for environments. Yes, I think that's really good, and it ties really well in with the survival and nature checks of the ranger. I think maybe even consider giving them expertise in one of those would be really beneficial. So let's look at first level. I think I don't know how that first, if that'll sort by level or not. Here's the filter. Let's use this filter. First level, sort it by level. Filter first level only is all I want to look at because that's where we're at. All right, so here's all the first level spells, right? So one of the first ones that I was actually thinking of would be the grease feature, right? The grease spell. I don't think that that's on their spell list at all. Let's see. Is the grease? It is in fact not on the. So for our first level spell here, I think grease would fit. Andrew, welcome. What's the subclass name? I don't have a name yet. Right now we're just talking. The theme is trapping and control. A focus on trapping and control. So we went through previously some of the different features that the other ones, the other classes offer, and now we're going into what are some ideas we can toss together. Restream bot lists the decision thus far. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. You can go and scroll back through it, but I don't know if anybody can watch that when they come in. Anyway, so I think grease is a potential good option for our new spell, seeing how it is not currently on the ranger spell list, and that is a control feature. Now, what I do think would be really cool is if you get bonuses when they're applied to traps. So let's say we briefly talked about earlier about having traps that can be imbued with spells. So like the Glyph of Warding spell. So if you imbued the hunter's trap with grease, not only would it trap them, but then would spray grease and cause their allies or nearby people to fall prone. Or if it knocks them prone, because the hunter trap just says, does it make the trap is affixed to a chain? Take damage until it breaks free. The movement is limited to the length. Typically, so right here. So this is a good example. So this isn't. We can improve upon this, right? If this says it has limited motion, based on the strength, the distance of whatever the chain is. What if the ranger's hunter trap makes it movement 0 in the grappled condition? So now you could, in theory, do a superior hunter's trap that makes your movement 0, locks you in place, and disperses grease that can knock you or the enemy's allies within a 10-foot area to the ground, which could be devastating if they're grappled, because if you're grappled, you can't stand up. So I'm definitely seeing some benefits to this. Ooh, possible necrotic damage as a later ability, or leveling a trap with infusion. For some reason, I thought that said illusion. I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. Something I hadn't really considered. So Garwin says a homebrewed first level mold earth spell, make it instant. I'm going to try avoid making new spells. My goal isn't to make new spells, but to either use what's there or design a particular mechanic. So I do. Is there any other ideas you think besides grease that would fit that first level spot? Obviously, we don't want to include anything that is already on the ranger spell list, right? Because they already have access to it, like entangle and stuff. Once again, that goes back to setting traps and imbuing them with some of the spells that you already have. I think could be really, really wonderful combinations, and treating them like low-level glyphs of warding. Instead of a fireball, it's, entangling or spike growth or something spewing out of it. Ooh, really cool. A man or woman after my own heart. Mend cantrip? Oh, yes. That is cool. I wonder if, and there is a precedent for that, because our Drake Warden gets a cantrip. So we can say that there is a precedent for giving a cantrip. So that is certainly something that could be the second feature. So one thing I've noticed is that most of the features that the classes get are two features in the new ranger classes pretty exclusively, or pretty liberally. So let's say, because then they can mend their traps when they break. Um, Mending cantrip, I think, is a good idea, right? That definitely is something. So I think we're gonna go ahead. Yes, Rangers do get good berry, I believe. Let's double check here for sure though, but I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, the druid and the ranger. So at the moment, I think Grease is going to be the winner until I get somebody comes up with something better, just so we can kind of keep it moving along. So let's do Grease as our first level, and so now we get a second level spell at 5th level. So let's go back to our little chart here and change our filter from first to, excuse me, to second levels. So what are some other spells that might be able to be good for a trapper control? Now it's okay if one or two of them are damage, but we want the core to be something that supports the group and controls the battlefield versus just blowing shit up, which, don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of. And I'll be sad if we don't make at least one trap that blows up. But that's just my opinion. So we got a lot of options here. Cordons, arrows. I feel like everyone kind of has that. Earthbind. Do they get Earthbind? They do not get Earthbind. So here's a really good one that would make for a great way to imbue traps, which basically locks down a creature again, but it has a really long range. Choose one creature you can see within range, and yellow strips of magical energy loop around the creature, and their target must succeed a strength save. Or if it's flying, if any, is reduced to 0 in the spell's duration. Airborne creatures are basically descend to safety. So this fits that control thing too. Ooh, catapult flavored as a trap. Oh, I love it. Andrew, you're after my heart. Pass without a trace for the second level if it's not already on there. I think it might be. Let's take a look. Pass without a trace. That is already on the Druid and Rangers class list. So that'll be a no-go for that one. Silence could be a good one too, but that's already on the Ranger spell list. So what else we got? We got some good stuff here though. I like an idea of a trap that is something that could have illusions in it too, which is pretty interesting. What does this say? Garwin says an ability that makes Goodberry work as a lure, such as the next 6 hours, Goodberry takes on the form of the chosen target's most delicious desire. Place a Goodberry into a trap to choose a creature. Oh, that is cool, like a luring trap. Oh, I like that. But then you're requiring them to make sure that they pick up that spell. But I do like the idea of a luring trap. Let's add that to our list of shit that would be really cool. Luring trap for catching stuff alive, right? Which I think is really good. Silverwolf says, what about having some ranger / druid spells already learned, like Paladin's Oath spell list? I'm not. We might be able to do that. I hadn't really thought about that. I was trying to go a little. So, well, isn't that what the is? How is that different from the spell the new spell list, right? The new features that get added to their spell list. Ridicule says this trapper scavenger with potential to use catapult sounds like war or militant scout version of a ranger, like the Saboteur. I like that. I like that name too, the Saboteur. All right, so we still need a second level spell, and let's and then we'll need some. We'll need something beyond the hold person. Is hold person on their list? Hold person is not on the ranger spell list, so that could be a good one. Before we go, what's this say? Before we go too far, Xanathar's Lost Notes to Everything has this ranger. Oh, nice. I'll have to check it out. Of course, I'm making this for my project, so I can't use their ranger. And there's nothing that says you can't have the similar rangers done differently, right? A paladin always knows their oath spells, no? Or do they choose them from? I don't remember. I'll have to check it out, Teal. I'm a big fan of DM's Guild. There is a lot of amazing content there. Uh, so yeah, so we've got what is a movable object? This is from, what is this? Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. That's interesting, but I don't know if I can want to include something from that book. That is an official Wizards book, right? I know it's got Matt Mercer's content in it. It is?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's definitely one. You touch an object that weighs no more than 10 pounds and cause it to become, well, that wouldn't work because it's limited to 10 pounds. If the object is fixed in the air, it can. You touch an object that weighs no more than 10 pounds and cause it to become magically fixed in place. You and the creature you designate when you cast a spell can move the object normally. The object is fixed in the air. It can hold up to 4,000 pounds. So that wouldn't work because you can't lock a creature down with it. It doesn't sound like you, because it has to be an object. Trap infusion. Yeah, Garwin, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Kind of like the Artificer's infusions. Second level quicksand ability. Is that a thing? Is quicksand a thing? Because that sounds awesome. I don't see quicksand. That's a shame because that would have been dope. But I definitely think that oh yeah, Foxtrot. That's a really good idea. I think that that could be a feature that we could make, or a special trap type, right? So I think that that's going to come back to the different types of traps that we're going to want to make. So I think right now the idea is to build something similar to the Battle Master, where you'll have options and you can pick so many. And so each ranger that chooses this trapper style can pick, their favorites for whatever theme that they're going for. So a quicksand trap sounds awesome and totally is doable because the mechanic already exists, right? So I think that's a really good idea. And slower and less iconic pit trap. Obviously, pit trap is one. We would do too, but I want to get through these spells really quick. So what is another? I think hold person was definitely one. They already get spike growth. Large and reduce. That's more. Is that more utility than control? I think. Calm emotions. That could be interesting. You suppress emotions of a group. No, that affects a bunch of people. But man, that would be a great trap. A trap that makes make sure that nobody is goes out of control. Blind or deafness. That's another good one. But the ranger does not get that one. So having access to blindness and deafness. I'm gonna mute that.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. The wife beckons. All right, so what do you guys think of the blindness and deafness being added to the list? Because it's not normally on their list, though there is. Oh man, I think that would be a really great potential trap. If you want a ridiculous trap, the rolling ball from Indiana Jones would be crazy. So I do want to make sure that there's a mechanic that allows for that. So that's the other thing. I think these spells are going to be cool, and imbuing a specific type of trap, like the Glyph of Warding, will be good. But I think part of the fun is going to be coming up with rigging traps on the fly. The grease plus flame is brilliant. I would like to make sure that everyone is well aware. Technically, grease isn't necessarily flammable, the spell. And in fact, I'm pretty sure that Jeremy Crawford stated as much. So we can't assume that that's the way it's going to be used, because people that do use it that way is 100% homebrew, which also is an awesome idea. And maybe that's something that makes our Rangers grease different, because then we can alter these spells. I think we're going to put blindness and deafness in for now, unless you guys come up with something different. I think that would be a good type of potential control, trap and control. Right. Now we get a 4th level spell. Remember, we're still in the development stage of these cores, so these can change. You need to get Hunter's Mark, though. Mitchell Adams. My mom's name is Michelle Adams, and that threw my ass off. I was like, what? I was like, wait a second. So I do agree that Hunter's Mark is really, really important. That is already included in the Rangers spell list. So that's up to them to decide if they want to take it. Right? So let's go and change our filter up to 3rd level now. And search. So now we've got 2 good control style abilities. So if we want to go a little aggressive with one, we can certainly do that. No, it's fine. It's that's part of the name of the game, right, boss? So now we got to pick a 3rd level for our potential trapper spell list. And we want to keep it. We don't have to necessarily keep it control because our first couple are control, right? So we want to look around for what else might be able to. What the hell is catnap? Enchantment. You make a calming gesture and up to a trap that can make creatures fall unconscious. That's interesting. Oh yeah, that's from Xanathars. So that could be a good one. I like that, and that fits that control theme. And it lasts up to 10 minutes, which is nice. What about animate trees type spells? Simple ents used as minions? Ooh. Hadn't really thought about that. Is there a there's a spell called animate plants or something, isn't there? We're at our 3rd level, so this might be the one we have to give Glyph of Warding. Right? We give them access to Glyph of Warding, because this is what we were talking about earlier. So we're Glyph of Warding. So that's kind of already a given to. So I think this will sort of be our template for making how our traps function, right? Because instead of it being a spell, it'll become a mechanic, and we can give several samples of the types of traps that they can set. I think that this gives us a good kind of outline of how to do that. Of course, they won't be nearly as potent as this, but I think making them scale with the Ranger, probably the proficiency bonus, would be a really great way to do that. Imagining a walking with traps for a fist. It'd be an awesome end. So I think this is going to have to be our 3rd one. Glyph of Warding. What? I don't know what she's laughing at.
Boomer loves snow.
Oh yeah, is this first time seeing snow?
Yeah. I mean, presumably not.
All right. So we need a 4th level spell now, since we're going to go with Glyph of Warding, because that just makes sense. The explosive rune handles the damage. The spell glyph allows us to handle all the little imbuings. And then you, of course, get the higher level stuff, though I think it's limited by the spell slot that can go in it, I think. I like that the casting time's an hour, too. I wonder if we can make it so that... Oh, ouch. Yeah, it does a lot, Garwin. Alright, so let's... we have to pick a 4th level spell now for our new Ranger Trapper spell list. And if you guys can help me come up with a better name than Trapper, that would be great. Somebody mentioned Saboteur. That sounds awesome. There's another thing I thought that we have to include. We have to include the ability to reset traps. So imagine this, going through a place and triggering the trap or disarming it and then resetting it. So on your way out, everyone, make sure you jump over the wire. And then all the little goblins chasing you trigger it and it blows up or something. That's definitely something that needs to be part of a class like this. All right, so let's go filter. Is that 4th level? I think it's 4th level. So we need another. So the Glyph of Warden handled our damage output. What are some other good spells that would go good with a Ranger? Hallucinatory Terrain. Is that already on the Ranger spell list? It's not. So creating a trap that alters the terrain, maybe, could be cool. So it looks like you're running in through a forest of, an area of flowers, and it turns out it's actually a swamp, and the player characters know that, and so they prepare for it, but the enemies chasing them in don't. Pit Trap, Grease Spell activates on walls. Top gets covered with loose earth, make people disappear with style. Ridicula says any inspiration from characters like green arrows, i.e., web arrows, grapple hooks, and other adapted tools and types of damage for the ranged weapons. So I would say that that's an amazing idea, but that would have to be, I feel like that would need to be its own class, kind of like the arcane archer, maybe for the fighter, where you've got special shots. I think that would need to be its own class, which kind of falls out of the control and trapper field that we're going for. But I love that idea, and I think that that is totally doable. And actually, I think one of the other classes I have to do is a rogue with utility. So I think we could get away with doing something like that for the rogue. Because I'm supposed to build 4 subclasses. Tila, what did you miss? Welcome back. We're working on our 4th level spell right now, and I'm thinking hallucinatory terrain. What do you guys think about this option? I think that this would be an amazing ability in addition to being able to, imbue it into a traps or glyph of warding. Trap Master might be a fun name. I like that. I can see that. What other spells do we have here? Once again, I'm taking what the vitriolic sphere. Glowing 1 foot diameter. That's just damage. We're not going for the damage stuff. A trap polymorph, that would be funny. Yeah, illusory terrain. I think that's where I'm heading at the moment for the 4th level option. Though a trap with banishment could be cool. I think gravity sinkhole. Yeah, that's less. That's more damage stuff and less control. There's not enough control stuff. I think for now we'll go ahead and choose hallucinatory terrain, and that can always change later. So let's do that for our 4th level, so we can get to some of the good meat and potatoes. Hallucinatory. What is it? HUCINATORY terrain. I think that looks right. Google will tell me if it's wrong. All right, and then we get our last spell, which is 5th level. So let's go take a peek at these and see what we get here. I have a lot less. The higher the level spell, the less options you have. Mitchell Adams says for level 5, you're going to need to use the old contingency spell. Oh, dude, that is in here, and I don't know what level it is, but contingency is certainly a spell. But I don't think it's a 5th level spell. Yeah, I do think it is. I do think it exists. Contingency. It is a 6th level spell. What a shame. Because that would be perfect for this theme. And it's only on the wizard spell list. All right, so no, you don't gotta say you're my bad. Those are the ideas we want. Toss the ideas out there, and we're gonna build something great from all this. Who do I hit up for a subclass description? LOL sounds viable. Can you be a little more specific? Banishment is just magic pit trap. Garwin. That's a good one. All right, so we still need a 5th level spell. We have nothing seems to be really jumping out at me. Well, you could, but you're not going to do that in a published account. You're not going to say, by the way, you're going to change the way this spell sounds. You don't really do that. You can do that at home, but you don't do that in a published document. Ooh, insect plague. Is that on the? It's not on the. It's on the druids and the rangers. That could be fun. Just releasing it's like throwing out a trap that somebody steps on. It's just a beehive. What is pass wall? Pass wall appears. And that's definitely interesting. That's not going to help what we're going for, I don't think. Swift quiver. That's got to be on the Rangers. I was gonna say that's got to already be on the Rangers thing. Fireball locked to 5th level. I don't think so. Insect. I do agree. Foxtrot. Insect plague sounds good. What about a spell to escape the minefield of traps you've laid, or something that makes landmines? So that's definitely a feature that we're going for in our development here in a little bit. Um, because you're really, once you set a trap, you're gonna have limits too, right? So part of the game is balance, and we can look at a multitude of different class designs to determine that things have limited uses, usually based on a modifier or your proficiency bonus, right? And they can reuse them. Honestly, the arcane archer is one that I really liked for something like this, because it has the arcane shots. You basically can use a number equal to your proficiency bonus, and then they recharge on a short rest. And so for me, for traps, that actually seems really good. You can use 2 as an action, but you're not limited by how many you can use if you spend an hour building it or whatever. So those are some ideas. What do you call those trap pendulums? Death. That's usually what I go with. Contagion. This could be a good one. Ooh, I like this one. Okay, this is good. So we're talking about control. And so contagion fits this theme very well, because it poisons, it can blind, it can confuse, it can stun. This to me sounds almost perfect. Limited number of infusions, cast another infusion, replaces the oldest. I think that that's a really good idea, Garwin. And really cool. We're definitely going to be talking more about creating structured types of traps. I think what'll happen is we'll have to come up with descriptions of a type of a trap. So for instance, if we're following the Battle Master kind of theme where you get to pick a couple, one might be mechanical bludgeoning trap, or mechanical slashing trap, or piercing trap, or shooting trap, or something like that. And so that, I think, is we're going to have to generalize that and then kind of describe some examples of what would fall under that. Mislead spell. Let's take a look at that. Mislead. You become invisible at the same time that an illusionary double appears. That's interesting. Which isn't unusual to see, because it looks like there's several other rangers that get this. I can definitely see that. You can see while you are using its senses, you are blinded. This is a good one. I like that. So I think we're stuck. Don't forget to describe the pit trap. I feel like this is all ribbon abilities. So like, what can we do more than just traps? Absolutely. And I agree. That's where we need to go beyond. And I think that's where each of the different level features are going to come into play, is expanding on it. So because we're picking our archetype at 3rd level, that is going to be the focus, right? It's like when you pick the Battle Master fighter, that's when you get your core features. When you pick the Draken Warden, that's when you get your Drake. So the 3rd level features is going to be a focus on traps. But as we get to higher levels, specifically here we've got powers at 7th level, 11th, and 15th. That's where we're going to expand upon that, so it's not just traps. Because you make a very good point, Tila. We don't want it to be a one-dimensional class archetype. Because we can't just make up spells for this, because if a trap does what a spellcaster can do, then why bother? Well, there are some benefits to keeping it as flavored as something different than a spell. First of all, we can have more fun with it. We can make it more versatile, and additionally, you're not going to be limited by those spells, right? But I guess you'll technically be limited in some way. So we do need to keep our mind open beyond that. Once again, this is just following the current new standard practice of giving 2 core features at the 3rd level, which currently is spell list. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up I like the mislead, but other ranger classes already got that. So let's go with what was the other one? I already forgot what. Ooh, Cloud Kill could be a good one too. Bet you a ranger already gets that. Nope, it doesn't. Insect Plague or Cloud Kill would be really good ones. I feel like we had one earlier that sounded really good. Let's go with Cloud Kill for now, and we'll come back to it. That's assuming that we decide to keep the class spell list, right? All right, uh, so now once again the goal is to keep it. I thought you might want to take a look at altering primeval awareness to tell you what's caught in your traps. Ooh, that's a good one, Mitchell. I like that. So, for those that don't know, the primeval awareness is the third level feature that tells you sense the presence of nearby creatures. Enhancing that to tell you which creature in that range is captured in one of your traps. Oh, that is magnificent. I love it. And I think we could get away with including that without necessarily stripping away anything else. For holding traps on a person into a bag of holding or otherwise is available. Yes, you have to be careful with that because we can't assume that the party will get a bag of holding, and that's the other thing that we have to be aware of. So I think you're going to be limited on how many traps you can build in advance. But that's why I think we need to look at, and I mentioned it earlier, look at ritual spells where you can say, okay, they can be cast at a cost in a turn usually, but you don't waste that resource if you spend time doing it. So I think saying, okay, you can carry a number of traps equal to your proficiency modifier, but you can prepare like a ritual any number of traps so long as you have the resources in the area or something like that, or once per short rest or something along those lines without expending those resources. I feel this class would be absolutely gimped if the traps last less than 2 hours. To my idea is the trap should last until until it goes off. Once again, that's if you look at hunting trap, it doesn't say that it only lasts for so long. You use this, you create it, and it's there till it goes off, which is exactly how I think most traps. So with time and prep, just like with Glyph of Warding in a wizard, with enough time and prep, you can build some nasty stuff. All right, why not base it off whiz plus proficiency? That is certainly something that we can do. Once again, that'll come down to how balanced everything is, and those are adjustments that we can make on the fly. So you could say you can gain bonuses to your traps, saving throws or whatever, based on your wisdom plus your proficiency bonus, like spells. Finally, somebody that understands physical matter doesn't evaporate. You're welcome. But yes, so the basing it off whiz and proficiency is definitely a good idea, but it comes down to the number of uses we want. So, all right, so we got our cloud kill or our spells out of the way at the moment. So now I do want to add the enhanced. We need a cool name for it. So, primeval awareness to identify type of creature. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not putting all the correct verbiage here. The goal is just to get the concept down. Type of creature caught in trap. Primeval awareness enhanced or something for now. We'll keep it just general text for now and address it later. So this is a really good one. Once again, I think that we can do that without taking away the trap mechanic. So now we have to design the trap mechanic. Did everyone like the idea of having multiple different options for traps, or do you think just having a core set of trap, this is a bludgeoning trap, such as swinging log from the area, or a boulder, or a stone, or something like that, and leaving it general? Or do you think there should be very specific traps? Like you could do a bludgeoning one that's designed to put out a lot of damage and knock something to the ground. You could do slashing ones that might cause creatures to take slashing damages and bleed. You could do piercing ones that are designed to administer like poisons, such as like a needle, shooting needles, something like that. I keep hearing clown kill instead of cloud kill, and I think I have an idea for a horrifying trap. Name it after something like a spider's web. Primeval trapper. Ooh, that's good too. Is it a real trap like a spirit bear or a drake warden? No, more like a hunting trap, I would say. I like the primeval trapper. I like that. I'm gonna put that on there. Primeval Trapper. That is really cool. We still don't have a solid name, I don't think. I saw a couple of things popped out earlier. A swinging log takes time. What if you don't have time? So, and I think that's what I was trying to get down to earlier. So, there will be we need to come up with an idea where there are some traps that can be built in advance and carried with you like a hunting trap. Others that require a certain amount of prep. So, for me, something like a setting up a log or a pit or something like those, that's going to take at least a short rest. And I think there's enough features out there that get done within a short rest that's feasible, especially for pretty much superheroes. Infusions, bear ones, fire and poison at low level. I think that's good because those are the most highly resistant ones. So what if we had something? Let's look at. So let's go and look at the archetype for the. Oops, we don't want ads. For the what is it called? The arcane archer. I think that's a really good low frequency that'll give us a starting point. So the arcane archer, when you get your arcane shot, so you get the lore here. So this is something I don't think that we touched on with our other ranger here. So we gave the primeval trapper to identify. This should also give us some sort of bonus skill, either proficiency or, well, expertise is kind of strong. All hail the pit trap. uh, yeah, I don't know enough about old Viet Cong type traps. This is why I asked if we were looking at Ewoks or Batman. I think you're gonna have an area in between both, right? You're gonna have some stuff that is built up over time, and some that can be built and carried, like Batman, I guess. Primeval Trapper we should also probably gain a feature. Well, I guess this counts as that though. We're enhancing a pre-existing power. Obviously, there's no. So now with the primeval power, do you just have to make a check, or do you automatically know? Let me read that really quick. You can sense this creatures. Yeah, you can spend a spell slot to sense the presence of nearby creatures. This enhances that, saying you can tell exactly what type of creature is caught in your trap. I like that. I think that counts. But now we have to build a actual like trap type power, which is gonna be the harder part. So what if we're gonna have there's gonna be obviously a couple different types of traps. I think we'll assume right now that the spell casting aspect of the infusions is going to be handled by Glyph of Warding for now, because that's exactly what that's designed to do. So we should focus probably on the more mechanical traps with slight enhancements. What about poison resistant feature to walking through clouds of your poisonous gases? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that. This guy should carry like 5 shovels. I know they were, but traps take time. This feels like the subclass fits better as an artificer. That may be true depending on how it's all written out, but the goal is to make it not an artificer. So that's why I think focusing on mechanical traps and letting Glyph of Warding probably handle some of the magical stuff beyond like poisons and stuff will probably be where we want to be. I do like the idea of poison resistance. That's definitely something that we should consider. I don't know where to put that just yet, because we don't want to just give it a bunch of stuff, right? Resistance. All right, so looking at we've given it a utility feature. We've given it access to some new spells. Now we have to flesh out the primary ability. So let's say we have something like Master Trapper, right? So at 3rd level, you can create effective traps to snare, damage, and or snare, damage, and trap your foes. So we need a mechanic for assembling traps. Is there a special kit or something that they should have? Like, what are the different toolkits in the D&D players toolkits? I know there's like a poisoner's kit. There's an herbalism kit. Is there a trapper's kit or anything? What's up, Phil Kearney, man? Long time no see. So at level 3, your conclave has taught you to augment Glyph of Warding with a magical ability. You also gain 3 traps. Glyph of Warding is a 3rd level spell, so you won't even get that until as a ranger until 9th level. So that would be when you would learn the magical traps, right? Though once again, I think we can still imbue some of those with additional effects, which is what we're going to have to do. But we got to start with a core mechanic first, so like a tripwires, pressure plates, some complex mechanism, and then you're going to need, okay, what is the desired effect? Is it going to harm something? Is it going to disorient them? Is it going to catch them? What is it going to do? And I think that's the direction that we need to go first, right? Because those are traditional. Is it going to alert things, right? And so we can do a little bit with that, and that's a list that can be easily expanded upon as you grow higher in level. See if I can find Disguise kit, Poisoner's kit. What is this? I don't even know what the hell that is. Voting kit. Yeah, I don't see anything. So I think Poisoner's kit probably would be something that we would have to do. So let's say we'll keep this general description here for now. How long should it take? How long should it take to form? Oh, Tinker's Tools might work. Tinker Tools could work. You think they should get Glyph of Warding free once per day? See you later, Andrew. Thanks for coming. A springboard launches a character or creature into the air. Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's start getting some of these ideas. So let's start with the different. I think this should give access to Poisoner's Kit, gain proficiency, and Poisoner's Kit. We'll do Poisoner's Kit / Tinker's Kit. We'll start with that for now, and then we'll reevaluate that a little bit later. So this basically, so obviously, I feel like you need to have something to start. So should all traps require like a hunting trap to start with, or something like that? Because I feel like getting an enhanced hunting's trap and stuff like that is a good start. Spring trap them into a pit trap. Oh my gosh, it reminds me of old we used to play the crap out of Halo, and we'd build these with the forge. We'd build these complex things where you just jump on one and it would send you all over the map and eventually die. All right, so let's say that let's start it as an action first, and then we'll adjust that depending on what it can do, right? So as an action, you can assemble a trap. You can assemble or disassemble. I think we can even go into more detail with that later on, doing something along the lines of readjusting a trap or changing a trap's trigger or something like that, but that'll have to be expanded on. Let's keep it simple first. So man, an action though, I think an action to deploy during a short rest to build. Net equals action to restrain as thrown. Ooh, I like the inclusion of core items that are already there, such as the net, because the net doesn't get no love. So tossing it onto a launching trap. Oh yeah, nailed it. I'll write that down. Net. Use the net. All right. So let's say during a short rest. You can assemble or disassemble a trap. So we need a trigger. Choose a trigger for your trap. And don't worry about the verbiage. We'll fix all that to make it more Wizards of the Coast like later. Choose a trigger for your trap. So now we need triggers. So we had tripwire was a trigger. Tripwire. That's one word, isn't it? Tripwire. Pressure plate. What else? Generic doohickey, like a doorknob. What do you call that? Would be cool to combo spring into a tough terrain like a quicksand of grease. I do like that. They have a huge net trap. ROTJ, I don't know what that is. Step in is a rigger. Step in is a trigger. Yeah, so that would probably fall under pressure plate, right? Not just a pressure plate, but probably most things you step on would fall under that. Oh, Return of the Jedi. All right. So tripwire, pressure plate. We'll call it mechanism for now. So this would be something along the lines like a doorknob, maybe a door opening. You know, you open the door and those pits drop down on your head, right? Basically, when an object is used, right? Pulling a lever, right? But there's got to be more than that, right? So those would probably be 3 core ones. Light rays can trigger a trap. Projectile, opening, lifting. Yeah, I think that would fall under mechanism for now. Or we probably just, it doesn't need to be mechanism. Complex object. Yeah, no, that one works just fine. What else we got? Light rays. How would you do light rays? Like that would be like lasers? Is that different than like a trap? Thin wire or vine. Activated when someone walks through it. Pressure plate. I like the idea of the pressure plate having a minimum weight. So let's say a pressure plate in a pressure plate when something of 20 pounds. Get steps on. Good enough. So those are 3. You've got deadfalls, snares. 5 pounds for tiny. Yeah. So you think some tiny usually flies though. We don't want little critters setting off. We can lower this to like 15 pounds maybe. We need 3 basic traps. A trap that makes you fall, one that trips, makes you get hurt, and that moves you. Those are good ideas. So okay, so we'll leave these for our triggers right now. Let's do some trap effects. All right, let's do some trap effects. So grapple should be 1, right? Target is restrained, pinned, or bound, right? Once again, I'll figure out the full-on logistics of it once I've got the concept down, right? So grapple is 1. Anti-druid wild shape. I like that. Light lens mirror. Oh, I get what you mean. Yeah, kind of. Okay. Let's do. I don't know how you'd rephrase that. I just want to say laser. Refract. when light beam is broken. We'll put that on there for now. All right. All right. All right. So we got a grapple trap. Obviously, you're gonna want one that hurts stuff, right? Hurts, deals damage in some capacity. What else we got? Disrupt magic. Ooh, that's a good one. So it automatically activates at night. Yeah, that definitely it's gonna come with some problems. We'll have to see. Or it just fails. Maybe it does. Maybe it just fails. Hanging people by the feet. So yeah, those. So we're right now we're generalizing the trap effects. Right. We've got grapple, hang by grapple, pinned, hang by feet, etc. Hurts, deals damage, and hung up by feet. Deals damage to some capacity. That's pretty straightforward. Kaboom, blows up. Disorient, right? Confusion, right? No, let's do hinder senses. Hinder senses, right? So blind, deafening, blinding, deafening. What else? I've got nothing else for that. What's something helpful in no? What's something helpful in a no magic game? Pit traps. All right. So somebody mentioned anti-magic trap. I think that's a good one. So magic within a certain area is negated. I feel like that needs to be a higher level than a something later down the road. Ooh, some good stuff. I like the idea of a petrifying trap. So we got some good stuff. So let's start. Let me categorize some of these. So let's go down here. So net trap, right? Paralyzing, hanging from tree branch. What else did you have in here? We need a terrain trap. Terrain trap. So that would be like difficult terrain. Alters the terrain in some capacity. That seems like it would be pretty difficult to do. Difficult terrain, maybe. Like quicksand, right? I like that. I like the idea. Oop, my thing came out of my beer because I was pulling at it. The idea of a quicksand or a pit trap would fall under a terrain trap, right? Quicksand, pit trap. Name a few. Does X trap prevent or cause a condition? End with noose trap. Does X trap prevent or cause a condition? You could disintegrate. Ooh, yeah. So smoke bomb is a good one. That would fall under hindering senses. So I think that those are really good ones, such as fog cloud. And you can use those as kind of metrics to comparable techniques. What else? So I've got potential anti-magic. We've got hindering the senses. We got hurts. We've got because we can have a variety of different ones that fall under these categories, right? Right now we're just trying to get them out. And then terrain. Is there anyone that falls this? Does this Saboteur Ranger have the ability to make dynamite at later levels? I don't know yet. We haven't got to those levels yet. The other thing we do have to consider is how is it detected? Concealing a trap. Okay, so I think we got enough of the decoys. Oh, decoy trap. Draws enemy attention. I love that. That's great. All right, so these give us some good areas to kind of focus on. I'll be able to go through and build out some more options there. Let's do so when they set up a trap, hiding a trap, concealing a trap. If we want to conceal a trap, what would be the best way to do that? Somebody mentioned uh using wisdom. So what if would it be a survival check? A survival check to determine the no, I feel like we should we allow it to be a roll to determine how well the trap is hidden, or should we make it a static DC like a wizard spell save? You know what I mean? Should it just be like every trap detection has a DC of this, like the spell save DC, or should we just make it a survival? It looks like Mitchell says survival. We need a trap that grants advantage and disadvantage to other players. I honestly, Tila, I hope I'm saying that right. I agree 100% with that, and I think that any one of these sorts of categories can apply to that. For instance, the a smoke bomb or something, maybe. So, like a big noisemaker, right? Something that goes boom and creates advantage on the next attacks against the creature, maybe, or imposes disadvantage. I think that would fall under any one of these. I'm going to. We'll add this note. Not just hinder enemies, right? I think that I think that's gonna come down to when I'm designing each of these individual effects, keeping in mind that we want to do this so that we can apply those effects. Because I agree, there needs to be more than just though the goal is control of the enemies, giving your allies buffs. Most of these will do that too, right? Because we're going to look at, knocking enemies to the ground, and that grants advantage to all melee attacks. So there is things that we can do with that. It's Thai law. Thai law. Okay, I got it. Sorry about that. Thai law, which is awesome, by the way. All right, so I agree. I put that note in there, and once again, as I'm designing these, I'll go through and keep those in mind and make sure that we have a nice distribution of those. Concealing traps should just be a survival check. Survival check. So they might have. Should we grant advantage on all survival checks to conceal traps? No, because sometimes they're not going to hide them as good as they think they are. So you're basically making it a contested check at that point. It's a survival contested check against a wisdom contested check to spot it. Though if the DM's running it, it generally should be a wisdom passive perception check. So those are much easier to beat than an investigation check, I think. Ooh, buffs included. I like that. Buffs could grant resistances to traps. Yeah, passive perception is usually the one, but when you're looking for traps, it's active. But typically, nobody's actively looking for traps when it's but for the enemies, I feel. But I guess that depends on how the DM's running them. I think that typically they should be using passive perception for traps, except for maybe like the scouting rogue or something. But ooh, yeah, advantage on finding traps too. Contested survival versus wisdom check. Probably wisdom passive check, but that's fine. Master of concealing. concealing and locating traps. To hide and advantage on locating. That's really good. I like that. So I would say instead of advantage, let's double your proficiency. So additionally, when you attempt to detect a trap, you double your proficiency bonus. We are MacGyver. Yes, yes. Oh, I love it. We can get out of anything. I love it. Really good. All right, so I had considered expertise across the board for a few different things. I think this is probably one of those things that's worth it, but we don't want to say you have expertise in survival or wisdom checks, so we have to word it in such a way that it says it only applies to this particular condition. Because we've already given them a lot of different things. All right, so I think those are some good ideas for our core level 3 features. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to flesh out every single one in this stream, but I think we have a lot of good ideas that gives me something to go off of to get started. And I think this is in the right direction. The real question is how many times a day should they be able to do these? Should it be limited? Should it be unlimited? Does there need to be details that you need the requirement, you need access to certain things to do this, or is there are we just saying that the survival check, you can use to scavenge for everything you need around the area? That's what we have to figure out too. You have an expertise when hiding a trap or using a trap. Okay, that's good. How do you buff your party? Easy. They hide in the pit and wait for some poor bastard to fall in with everyone's actions readied. All right, when somebody falls in, swing. I don't have a sword. Can I cast fireball? No. So I agree with Mitchell Adams that it should take time, but I also think that there should be some benefits beyond for having them prepped. So if I recall, the chef feat says that during a short rest you can create this thing that benefits your team. I think that might be something worth looking at, where okay, you can prepare it in advance and it only takes an action to use some of them, but you still need to be limited. Let's look at this. Excuse me. So this says you during a short rest you can do a gain a benefit, and then you can only regain so much. With 1 hour of work, or when you finish a long rest, you can cook a number of. So I think this gives us some good dimensions. These special treats last for 8 hours. Obviously, I'm not going to make stuff just disappear. Maybe they stop working after a month or something because they get all rained on or some shit. That I think this is a good kind of template to use, that they can set up as many traps as they want, but it takes a certain amount of time. I think that once a trap is limited, but that means there also needs to be a couple that they can use as an action. And I think that's where things like the hunter's trap comes into play, because it's a mechanical device. So during a short rest, you can create this thing, but you can release it as an action if you want. Like one of my favorites in the hunter in World of Warcraft can throw out like an ice trap that freezes people in place, something like that. So that'll have to come in a little bit later. How many actions it takes to lay trap types? Short rest for huge traps, 3 actions for large, 2 for medium. Well, you got to be careful because there is a standard action economy in D&D, and we want to maintain that, which is there anything that makes you delay to cast anything? The only thing I can think of is the delayed blast fireball spell. So if we did, it would take that into consideration, but you also don't want to set up a trap that doesn't get used after you set it up if the battle ends before then. So I think there needs to be some leeway there, and I think playing on the hunter trap is a good way to do that with some of the smaller ones. One of the features that I think we need to do as we move on is talk about what we can get out of the hunter trap and how we can use it better. Partial spell list for condition AoE spell. So we do our spell list. You came in kind of late, but you can see that we did grant the class potentially a new spell list, which includes Grease, Deafen, Blindness, Glyph of Warding, Hallucinatory Terrain, and Cloud Kill. So there are some stuff in there for the more magical direction. This core feature, though, we're trying to focus on the more mundane. So I think we've got some good ideas for level 3. Let's move on to the level 7th. So one thing I've learned going through the different classes at the 7th level, the Rangers gain access to a feature that generally improves their general quality of life. So usually through defensive means. These features can certainly be used. What? Are you singing?
Huh?
Are you singing?
I don't think so. Maybe.
I think she was singing. These features can certainly be used in combat, but are also, they tend to offer some sort of, functionality when exploring new areas or navigating social situations. So we kind of want to do that, and we can see some of them here, right? So the Beastmaster enhances the beast. The Drake Warden does the same thing. But over here you got the Fey Wanderer, that's Beguiling Twist, defensive advantage against Charmed and Frightened. Gloomstalker gets Iron Mind proficiency in saving throws and defenses. The Hunter's defensive tactics gives you different defensive options about increasing your AC and whatnot. The Swarmer, short-term flight and has limited uses. And then Escape, mental, and physical assault. Roll an extra d6 to get out of grapple. So we can unanimously say that the 7th level feature is always going to be defensive in nature. So I think that we have something that fits that theme quite well. And it is under the Barbarian class, if I remember correctly. The Barbarian has Danger Sense. So this is interesting. So you gain an uncanny sense when things nearby aren't as they should be, giving you an edge when you dodge away from danger. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws that effects you can see, such as traps and spells. Is this something we can look at for our defensive feature for our trapper? Sorry, I'm wasting your time and not looking. Action is set. Object interaction to trigger. Ooh, I like that. That's good. Let me go back. Somebody says you got a good idea. How many actions it takes to lay traps? Short rest, huge. Yeah, I think I responded to that. Oh no, this is for me. Check out 3rd edition Trapsmith. Ooh, I will do that. I did not know that there was a Trapsmith prestige class. I will definitely look into that. Talks about different preps and stuff. Okay, I can look at that. What if we could telekinetically set up their trap using a wonky version of Mage Hand? I want to be careful, because then you're kind of wandering in the range, the area of the Arcane Trickster, and we don't really want to step on their toes. So we do need a defensive ability. So what was everyone? What is a good defensive ability for this? I think the Danger Sense works really, really well. And now, obviously, you get it much later than the Barbarian, but you're not a Barbarian. So what about having an option to attach traps to other surfaces, constructs, familiars, medium-sized creatures? Ooh, that's interesting. That is really interesting. Or allies. Like Portal. Oh, that's funny. Well, right now, once again, we're trying to leverage what the other classes do at 7th level. So we want to keep in the theme that's clearly defensive and resistances, whether it's protection from Charmed or Frightened, or increase in AC or proficiency in saving throws, which the Gloomstalker one I thought was dope as hell too. Oh, Hellish Rebuke is a trap. That'd be a good one. All right, so we need a defensive maneuver though. So when assembling a trap, Okay, so what if we do something a little double? So what if we take the idea of the danger sense, but also allow us to improve our trap setting? So you can set additional triggers, maybe. Trap armor, wear armors as traps, become a pit trap. Shit, that's funny. Um, defense. Doo-doo-doo. So this class, the monster has this extra roll d6 thing to for escaping grapples. Maybe we can do something with that. So we can take this barbarian's idea here. Let's just copy this. Let me paste that. And let's edit it a little bit. Make it a little more potent for a 7th level ability. Right? You can't use it in that. Additionally, no, advantage is too much though. I like this roll idea here. Should we do something that protects him against his own traps? Ooh, deployable range trap to something like crossbow. I'm writing that down. That's a good one. Let's go back up here to our plethora of notes. Let's do deployable range traps. All right. So I think this is really good, but I think it needs to be better for a 7th level of feature. So what is the you take you have advantage. Well, no, you would already have advantage on all your own traps because that's what this does. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects that you can see, such as traps and spells. I think some kind of mirror image defense would be a fit for the class. Ooh. How does that tie into traps, though? On deck saves to avoid effect, roll a d6. I think that would be better than the advantage. The advantage is... but you would want the best you can be. Be all that you can be. Setting traps. I want to say I love your content and I love to be able to play in one of your campaigns. We're currently running one for patrons with actual Garwin, who's in this chat right now, so you can even ask him. But we do have a spot for people that want to play. But I'm only one man and my time is very, very limited, so I find it very hard to put too many games together. I do 2 games monthly for patrons. One that's an ongoing campaign, which Garwin's a part of, and then one that is usually just like several episodic encounters, 1 or 2 sessions. I think we got to do better with this though. I like the extra D6. Ooh, okay. Let's look at the Drake Warden's resistance, or not the Drake Warden. Where is it? The roll the extra d6, which I think is what Garwin said. Garwin said, so let's look at the Monster Hunter's verbiage here and see. Let's go to the Ranger and look at the Barbarians, or the, what is it, a Monster Slayer? Okay, so let's look at the verbiage of their level 7 feature, which is Supernatural Defense. So their Supernatural Defense says that you gain extra resilience against your prey's assaults on your mind whenever. So this is talking about specifically any saving throw. I think we should look at this. This is a really good one. Man, that's. But is it too close, too similar to this? I mean, they're all defensive in nature. I think this one being tied, being advantage, means it's better. Advantage to detecting traps. Roll a d6 to avoid effects completely. Well, you're already saving against it, though. Ah, I see what you're saying, Ridicule, with the bait. So I think that would fall under what we had up here for a distracting one, a decoy. So like mirror image or mislead spell, I think would fall under that. So you gain an uncanny sense. You dodge away from danger. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects you can see, such as traps. How about if a trap you set, or if you have to save against a trap you set, it negates its effect. The d6 gets added to your save against traps, but is that better or worse than advantage? I would argue that it's worse than advantage because you can get advantage is typically a +4, +5. Should this ranger be hardy or dexterous? I would say dexterous because it requires nimble fingers to set deadly traps without them exploding in your face. At least that's my thoughts. Let's say for now, because I don't want it to be too similar to this other Rangers feature, right? This basically is giving them a 1d6 saving throw on all saves, which is probably why it's not advantage, because that would just make it amazing. But by giving ours advantage and narrowing it down, we're allowed to shine there a little bit more, but for that specific condition. Yeah, but there's 1,001 ways to get advantage against anything in the game. All right, how do you gain advantage from a trap that springs on you without you knowing it or stepping on it? I guess you could argue that I'm ready for it. I know it's here. I'm going to trigger it. Then you might say, well, you gain advantage. So you're saying that because it's not advantage, it will stack if they do gain advantage. That's actually a pretty good. We aren't going mad with this character. We should be sad. Multi-ability dependent versus single ability dependent. So are you Dex and intelligence emphasis on array of constructs? Yeah, we don't want too many focuses. We want to keep it on the two primary stats of a ranger are Dex and Wisdom, and we want to keep it in that. And it's already set, like the spell save DC and stuff is Wisdom, so we don't want to change that. Dex is definitely important, but not necessary. I see where he's going now with the details of the D6, and you know what? I think I'm gonna agree with him. So how is the worded here under this? So it says whenever you So whenever you are subject to a dexterity saving throw, subject to dexterity saving throws against specs, you can spell such as traps and spells. You roll a d6. Let's see how it's worded here. I think. Add a 1d6 to your. Add a d6 to your check. No, whoops. Let's do that. There we go. Add a d6 to your saving throw. There we go. I think that that's good. It's different enough that it means it can, even if you manage to get advantage, it stacks with it, so it puts you a little bit better. I'll redo this verbiage later. I do think that this is important though, because you have to see what's going on. I think that'll have to do it. So let's go look at the 11th level feature. So we know at 11th level, the Ranger subclass grants them a feature that almost exclusively enhances their combat features. It is outright. That's usually how it is. While this can certainly be direct boost to the additional options for the Rangers attacks and stuff, but there are more ways to improve a Ranger's combat prowess instead of just outright damage, which our traps kind of can take care of. I think focus more through disruptive means, meaning that so let's look at additional options. So looking at these 11th level features, the Bestial Fury is a straight up damage boost. Strike's Breath is a damage boost. Fey Reinforcement is outright damage boost. Summoning and conjuring reinforcement battles. That the Gloomstalker turning a miss into a hit. The Distant Striker is a short will teleport for an extra attack. Hunter gets multi-attack or the volley into AoE and whirlwind attacks. The Monster Slayer gets magic user Nemesis, which is basically a built-in counterspell, which I love. And then the Swarm Keeper increases damage of the Swarm by D8. Also causes it to be knocked prone, and you gain half cover and some other stuff. So this definitely is the opportunity to create a feature that is a boost to damage. Now our traps already kind of do some of that. So do we want this to enhance all the traps, or a trap, or saying like increase the die size of all your traps? So what do we got? We got some good comments here. Bait could be your defensive capability. Ooh, I like that. How to get advantage against Strass, stay behind the Barbarian. That's really good. I like that. For trap DC, allow perception check to suspect, then based on the check to subtract a range, or 1 to 5 max damage, then progress from 15 to 20. Above a 20, the modifier plus damage critical does time and a half. Phantasmal Trap. Phantasmal Trap is a good one. I like that. I like those. Those are nice. So for this one, we need a straight up damage boost. So what can we do for our traps? I think tying it back into either boosting our traps damage, or disrupting the attackers, or boosting our allies. Somebody mentioned a decoy that could grant the next attack against the target advantage. Could be a really, really good thing to do. I do like the ammo types. That I think that would fall under a whole nother subclass concept there, Ridicule. So we want to, I think that's a good idea, and I would like that, but I think that kind of goes a little far away from what we are doing here. The idea of setting a special trap that you can throw that draws attention. Throw trap. Oh man, so I think Ty Law mentioned doing something along the lines of buffing allies. Poison to give the enemy disadvantage. That's already something we're going to include. Traps. You could start making death traps. What the hell is a death trap? Like just one shot, one kill type of thing? Because I don't think any DM's going to let that fly. So somebody's saying throw traps. Maybe we could do something better with like nets or something. You know, tripling the range of nets or something like that. Because that will allow us to increase. What is the nets? Not only the nets, but like being able to throw nets and the hunter's trap a good distance. And so that we're looking for net D&D. What D&D Beyond Roll 20. So the problem with the net is it has such a short range. But as a trapper, would being able to increase all of its stats, heavy nets, full nets, is that something you think would be nice? Or restrained creatures? Restrained 5e. What is all the defects of being restrained? So restrained creatures be 0. That's good. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage. So I think this becoming proficient with a range trap like the net would be a perfect 11th level ability. Like a net launcher. That's very cool. That's some. That's like having an artificer gun with you in your pocket. What about a cantrip for placing constructs and propelling inanimate objects? Those are really cool ideas, but I'm not trying to invent new spells, because what I've learned is inventing new spells and stuff like that is going to really restrict who is willing to let a third party player option into their game. So I try to avoid those. I did that with my first class, which was the gun mage, and I got a lot of feedback that, well, you made a cantrip that can do multiple elements, even though it's random and 2 of them are the most highly resisted elements. It still just got a lot of not so good feedback. So I've tried to avoid creating new spells and stuff because of that. So I think with this, our 11th level feature, I like the idea of masterful traps. No, speedy traps, quick traps. Bonuses to mundane items such as net trap, nets, hunting traps, rain. I think range specifically. Thrown traps. I'll come up with some better names for it later. Bonuses to mundane items such as range bonuses. Mundane items such as traps and hunting. Okay, that's good. Net point of origin is the trap. Punji sticks are mean. It's a punji stick. Greaser weighted net, delayed or remote activated poisons. Ooh, I like that. See, I'm gonna have a lot of, you guys give me a lot of good ideas for when I gotta design these individual trap items. So that's really good. The idea of an electric net, like an electric fence, just sounds awesome. I have the same effect as like shocking grasp, where they can't take reactions or some shit. And maybe a lag would be lightning. Lightning, fire, cold, traps, etc. All right, so let's go back down to here. So for the 11th level, thrown traps is definitely where we want to focus. Specifically, the idea of nets is a big one, because that can buff damage, since all the other ranger classes benefit damage, but this will benefit not just you, your allies, by granting advantage, especially if we focus on with a net, right? Because that net trap, net launcher, just sounds awesome. I think I want to put that. A net launcher. Once again, just trying to get the basics out of there, trying to get an idea of how I'm going to lay it all out. And we're really on to something right now, I think. Now we're getting to the good stuff. The 15th level. This is, if you look at most of the, many of the different 15th level, they tend to be reactionary in some cases. While the majority of the reaction-based features tend to be defensive, there are a couple that are present that are offensive opportunities for the ranger, which is nice. Some that decrease damage, others that are opportunistic offensives that gives a chance to do like a quick jab or something. Um, so the idea, what do you, okay, so an opportunity, right? So as a trapper, you want to catch enemies in your trap. So should we offer them like an opportunity to do something when that happens? Stationary trap utilities. They smear infected stuff in pointed sticks. Yeah, that's the one of the other things I want to include is, you know, coating and poisons and stuff. I haven't figured out where we're gonna fit that in yet. That'll probably be some of the types of traps, like we talked about the different like the different mechanisms and stuff, and the types of traps like hurts and hinders, and like hinder could be like include you know, paralyzing poisons and crawler mucus and stuff. So I'll get all that. So for this one, looking at all the different abilities, include improve usually uses like your reaction. You can see here the Gloomstalker can use this reaction to apply disadvantage on the attack. The Horizon Walker can use a reaction to grant resistance. What if we use our reaction to pop a shot? Limited stock per use. Oh, so this says Ridicule says for reaction we have talked about things like a shield or a burst movement ability similar to dodge with limited stock use. That's definitely interesting. I like that. So you could go with something that ties. Once again, we want to tie it back to the trap. So if a trap, something gets caught and triggered in a trap, can we move up to our speed and make an attack, or move up to our speed and shoot an arrow, pop a shot off on them? Throw a portable hole over creatures to get it trapped. Reverse pit trap. Throw a poison knife with a slow effect. I like that. I like that. So I like the idea of us getting an extra shot in on something that triggers our trap, and maybe we can take it even a bit further. Could you maybe increase the crit range on something like that? So when something steps on your trap, if you can see it and within range, you can take a pot shot, and maybe that has an improved chance to crit or something. Something that's very specific, that's unique to your ranger, because they all look like they get a variety of different, you know, defensive or offensive abilities. Or maybe we can make it so if they're caught in a hunter's trap specifically, you increase your crit range. What do you guys think about that? Ooh, Slayer's counter and auto save on a hit, defense and offense. That's pretty cool. Somebody mentioned limited uses. The Swarm Keeper has Dispersal, which is a teleport and resistant, but it's definitely limited to how many times you can use it per day. Poison with slow effect. All right. Support allies. Throw a dart into their neck filled with narcotics. Get hasted, but the drawbacks is worse and worse with use. See you later, Phil. All right, how about for this one we do nope, there we go. Let's do when a creature triggers a trap, if you can see it, you can use your reaction to make a weapon attack. That ties it in that if you want to throw a poison dart, a poison arrow, you want to run in and make let's say you can use your action to move up to half your speed. And make a weapon attack. You can't grapple it. I think you can supplement any attack with a grapple if you want. Yeah, I'm sure if you want to punch it, you can. It says a weapon attack, but I guess weapon isn't A fist isn't classified as a weapon in fifth edition, but I think with advantage is a little strong, especially Michael, especially on top of whatever the trap trigger is. Because let's assume for a moment the trigger is a poison trap. Now they're poisoned. They took damage from the trap, and you just shot them in the face. Weapon attacks makes things tricky. It's my puppers. How so? Hey, looks like I'll be right on time at 9 o'clock. Because weapon attacks can be melee or ranged. Obviously, with a ranger, you're a trapper, you're likely using a bow, but I guess it depends on your fighting style. As I mentioned when we first started, that I didn't want to limit the class to only using certain, assuming they're going to use certain fighting styles. Right, but do rangers do hand-to-hand? I don't think so, not typically. Mitchell says, I was thinking like advantage with a trap that keeps them in place. Judo throw reaction just within 5 feet? Yeah. I was thinking DMs will step on that. Yeah, probably. We'll see. You talking about the grappling or punching or the attack? I mean, I guess they could since it's based on them catching or being caught in a trap. I'm glad I could help, but I can't do this tonight. I'm sorry, my guy. I'll watch this later. See you later. We're almost done here anyway, Tyler. It's 9 o'clock. Thanks for coming. So, all right. With that, I guess I'll judo throw. I guess I'll see you guys all later. I want to thank everyone who joined me today. This was a lot of fun. So when I'm building something, it's usually just my thoughts and my ideas that come out. But you guys give me so many things to think about, and more than I even took note of. And I'm excited to see where this comes. Once I start writing it up, obviously everything I build goes through several revisions, either through play test or just recommendations of, hey, this is too powerful. Look at this as comparison. So I'm super excited. If it's a weapon attack, you can't use any other kind of attack, such as punch and kick. I mean, rangers don't really do that anyway, so I don't think it's a big deal. But you're not going to be able to cast a spell because I think you need a feat to even do that. So I don't think that that's an issue. If you're aware of the limitation that you're going to use your bow anyway or your melee. You run into you have to use your knuckle dusters to do this all the time. Is that even a thing in 5th edition? Or they're because to my understanding, the unarmed strike is specifically not on the weapon table for a multitude of reasons, according to Wizards of the Coast. One of them being smiting with a fist, I think, which honestly, it doesn't really matter. What about ruling for dealing with creatures that don't have a physical body? So I think that would be a special type of trap. And that's something I had already thought of. And there needs to be very much a Ghostbuster style trap, which I think when I was thinking about it, it was from, because I played too many video games when I was younger, World of Warcraft's priests could shackle. They couldn't affect anything else but incorporeal creatures. And I think something like that needs to be a trap as well. Ethereal pit trap. I think somebody loves the pit trap. I feel like a trap using a sort of hallucinatory poison or mist could work. Yeah, I agree very much. What about a ruling dealing with creatures? Oh, yeah, we already talked about it. All right, I got to get out of here. I'm old, I'm tired, it's late, and honestly, I've got pumpkin pie waiting for me. So, hope you guys enjoyed today. This was a lot of fun. If you're interested, please consider following us tomorrow. We are going to be talking 10 world building tips, and I'm super excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Brandon won't be joining us, but that's okay. Garwin will be joining and filling in for us, so thank you for that. With that, I think that'll do it. I'll see you guys later. Keep your blade sharp and